Welcome to a podcast that's all about manifestation, the law of attraction, the way that you can use your conscious and subconscious mind to manifest the greatest life of your dreams. I am your host, Brittany Hoops. And with this show, I'm going to take you on a journey through your mind, through the energetics of the universe, to a place we like to call Destination Manifestation.
Yeah, take a step back for the ones who can't do that.
Okay, welcome to the very first episode of Destination Manifestation. Like I said before, I am Brittany Hoops. I am so excited that you're here. Guys, it has been 5 freaking years. 5 years since I had a podcast. Maybe you listened to that show. Maybe you didn't. Probably you didn't. It was a pretty tiny show. But let me tell you, so much has changed. And I feel like I figured out a lot in the past 5 years. It has been a crazy 5 years, to say the least. I've been able to put some of these things to the test, learn how the mind works at a deeper level and how manifestation works, and really get to live some of my biggest manifestations in my life thus far. And I wanted to create this show to give all of that knowledge to you so that hopefully 5 years from now, we can look back at our lives and think, oh my gosh, how in the world did I get here? Like, how crazy? Because that is definitely how I'm feeling right now, sitting here right now, recording this episode for you. So that's why I wanted to create this show, to help you master the full power of your mind, both sides, conscious, subconscious, so that you can manifest the life of your dreams. Because I will tell you, the portal to the universe, the portal to everything we want, resists right in our noggin, right here, right in our minds. And we can harness that power to create anything that we desire. So on this show, I'm going to be talking about everything from law of attraction, energetic alignment strategies, manifestation practices, mindset growth hacks. You name it, it has to do with the universe. It has to do with manifestation. It has to do with the mind. We will be covering it at a very deep level. And why we'll do this is so that we can step in and transform into what I like to call future you. Okay? Future you is this version of you who has what she wants, is who she wants to be, thinks the way she wants to think, feels the way she wants to feel, or he, right? It's that version of you that exists. It's there. You just have to step in to future you, the highest version of who you want to be. And we'll discover how you can utilize principles from so many different areas. We pull from neuroscience, psychology, hypnosis, NLP, spirituality, and more to transform every aspect of your life and manifest your wildest dreams. Because literally, like, transformation, the idea of transformation is kind of like my favorite thing in the world. I don't know what it is about it. I just think the idea that we can, transform into whoever we want to be is kind of the coolest, most powerful thing that you could ever create. And so that's what I'm most interested in exploring. So even though it's been 5 years since I had a podcast, I will tell you, I've been studying this material for, I think, 15 years now. Yeah, 15 years since I was a freshman at NYU. And I'll tell you guys that story. And I've just been able to watch the effects of understanding how the universe works, how manifestation works, both in my life as well as the lives of hundreds of my hypnotherapy and life coaching clients that I work with each and every day. And so I can't wait to share those stories with you. I think they're bound to shock you. I think you're going to love them. I think they'll be inspirational. And I think more than anything, they're going to prove to you how absolutely anything is possible, because that really is the truth. Anything is possible. So my hope is that, it is my desire, it is my intention that you will learn how to bust through subconscious blocks and resistance, shift negative thoughts and beliefs, and achieve your goals through inspired action. Okay. We're ditching that old hustle and grind, rise and grind mindset of goal setting. And I'll admit, 5 years ago, that was kind of a little bit more I knew manifestation, but yet I was still being like, okay, but when it comes to like achieving something, I have to work this hard and I have to do this thing and I have to do this, right? And I thought it was all try, hard. And that's definitely the mindset that I was in 5 years ago until, and I'll tell you guys the story, but like until I reached the point where I realized, oh, yikes, that isn't actually going to work. And it's really exhausting and I can't keep it up. And it doesn't feel right to me. There's got to be an easier way. It doesn't mean it's easy, but it's just filled with a greater sense of ease. And that's what we're going to be exploring here in this show. So, what can you expect? If you decide to subscribe, if you want to watch more episodes, here's kind of the lowdown. Here's what it's going to be. I think there's going to be a lot of solo shows where I'm just directly talking to you. I'm teaching to you. We'll do some hypnosis. We'll do some coaching. I mean, I want you to be able to pull up this podcast and know that you will feel different at the end of the episode. Like, sure, I'll share stories and like, who doesn't love a good story, right? Stories are interesting. But more than anything, I want this to be for you. And I will absolutely be bringing on some guest star interviews. I already have some fun people lined up, people that I think embody so many of the qualities of transformation that we're going to explore on this show. And then we'll be really diving into the advanced manifestation practices. So when I say advanced, I mean, if you've read all the books, if you've listened to all the podcasts, if you've done all the things, then this show is going to be a good show for you. And of course, even if you're a beginner, you always have to start someplace. I'll always be giving out resources. I have a ton of resources on my website, brittanyhoops.com. You'll get everything that you need, but really I want to design this for the advanced manifestor. And I mean, here's the thing. We're all advanced manifestors in some way, right? Because manifestation is a law. It happens whether we're conscious of it or not. But I want to speak to those who love to, get their, what does Abraham Hicks say? Like get their hands in the clay, right? The people who love doing this deliberately. And really these kind of practices can be applied to any sort of area of your life. We're going to talk relationships. We're going to talk finding your soulmate, business, entrepreneurship, manifesting money and wealth and abundance. We'll get into body image and self-worth and self-esteem and confidence, positive thinking, habit formation, and like so much more. I mean, this work can be applied to anything you want to achieve. And most importantly, I would say, is that I want to help you make manifestation and law of attraction just a part of your everyday lifestyle. Because like I said before, it happens whether you are aware of it or not. So might as well have fun with it. Might as well make it a part of something that feels really good to you each and every day. And that's going to be the purpose of this show. Because I'll say the most important thing is to enjoy the journey on your way to destination manifestation, right? That's what we're going to be doing here. So you found the show. Maybe you know me. Maybe you knew me from the before times. Maybe you knew me from Big Brother. Maybe you just Googled, manifestation podcasts and I popped up. Regardless, let me take an opportunity to introduce myself. I am Brittany Hoops. I'm a certified hypnotherapist and manifestation coach. But I will tell you that has been my title and I'm so proud to claim it now. It hadn't always been that way. So, like I said, I had studied manifestation for the past 15 years. Since I was 18-year-old, I was a freshman at NYU, a theater student at Tisch School of the Arts. And I was trying to think, like, how did I stumble upon manifestation? I feel like everyone has kind of like their manifestation story, right? And I think, and I went back and I actually found the clip online, which is so funny. And I rewatched it for the first time in years. But, I was a theater student, right? And every good theater student is obsessed with Saturday Night Live, the TV show, right? I watched religiously every Saturday. And I think back around that time, it was like the heyday of SNL, in my opinion. You had Amy Poehler, Tina Fey, Kristen Wiig, Maya Rudolph, all the great women comedians. And they did a sketch about the book, The Secret by Rhonda Byrne. And I rewatched it. And of course, if you watch this clip, maybe I'll link to it, but if you watch this clip, they're making fun of manifestation. You also have to keep in mind, okay, just hold your horses. 15 years ago, manifestation was way more woo-woo than it is now. Gosh, it was even more woo-woo 5 years ago when I recorded my podcast. I think that's part of the reason why I was so focused on like hustle and grind. Notice how I say that with like a voice every single time. Like boss babe, goal setting 5 years ago, because manifestation was kind of like woo woo, but now it has become so much more accepted as part of our vernacular. Gosh, Gen Z, like you say manifest just like it's any other word. I love it. It's amazing. So you have to keep in mind that when I was watching this clip, it was like way out there. SNL was making fun of manifestation and The Secret. And most people I think would be like, oh, that's a load of crap. Ha ha ha. But my little brain was like, that kind of sounds a little interesting. Not to mention that Oprah, was loving this book, was saying, this is what I did to get where I'm at. And I'm like, okay, Oprah, like you are very successful. I can read a book. I can keep an open mind and read a book, right? So I did. And it absolutely blew my mind. It just made sense. You know what I mean? Like I'm curious if you guys have felt this way when you discovered manifestation, but it just like clicked for me. I was like, oh, everything I've ever experienced in life just like adds up to this. And I've been hooked ever since. So, fast forward 4 years there, right? I finished school and then take another 8 years after that. I spent the next 8 years. I decided not to be an actress. That's a whole other thing. I somehow like literally landed randomly in this career as being a corporate market researcher. And I spent like 8 years, all of my 20s, building side business after side business while working as a corporate market researcher full time. I mean, literally, if I did it, if it exists, I did it. I was an earring maker. I was a floral designer who did weddings. I was a web designer. I did lettering graphic design. I think I tried my hand at reselling Amazon products for a while. Like literally anything that exists. I started a business, played pretend business, and then shut it down and moved on to the next thing. It was exhausting, but I don't regret those years at all, because they led me to exactly where I am here today. But I will say this, 8 years of trial and error, 8 years of being in misalignment, not about every area of my life, but about this particular area of what I want to do for my purpose, my business, everything like that. My heart just couldn't take putting off my life any longer. Can you relate? I mean, I had spent my whole 20s longing to start my own company. And let me say this, as I was starting each of these companies, I also always had something that was connected to self-development, goal setting, manifestation, and the works. So I always was following my passions in the self-help and development field, but I let those pesky little fears, those blocks, those subconscious blocks, that resistance, that misalignment get in the way. Fears of finances, fears of what my family would think. I mean, let me tell you, my dad, my sister, my brother, all super duper successful corporate careers. I thought I needed that. And I mean, gosh, for a while there, I worked at Instagram and Mattel. I had that, but I just didn't feel like I could break this mold. The fears of all the risks that would be involved, listening to well-meaning advice from very pessimistic friends. Oh, people, please notice who you surround yourself with, because when they offer thoughts, their opinions, right, to you, and you accept them as truth because you respect them and you admire them and you think that they're smart, that can be very dangerous if their truth, you notice I put that in air quotes, their truth is just their opinion. I definitely kept myself back because I was surrounded by people that I admired who did not believe in my dream, and therefore I took on their beliefs as my own. And wouldn't you know, when I finally overcome their beliefs and I became successful myself, they were no longer friends. We were no longer an energetic match. And sometimes that's for the best. And so I'll say all of this, all these worries kept me playing small and out of alignment. And so I would shelve my dreams again and again and again until you do this for long enough. You do this for almost a decade. You hit a breaking point, right? And my personal breaking point was depression. And it hit me like I slammed into a brick wall. It was like the universe was saying, Brittany, hello, if you don't do something about your dreams, we are going to give you the biggest slap in the face wake up call you could imagine. And it was really like unlike anything I'd ever felt before. I could hardly get out of bed in the morning for months on end. It was impacting my work. The company I worked at the time, my boss was really understanding. He had a family member that had dealt with depression, but he called separate one-on-one meetings with me to basically address the fact of like, I was going through something and like, I needed to get out of it. Right. It impacted my work. And it was ultimately the reason why I left that company. And I thought, oh, this is so misguided. Please don't do like I did. I'm telling you the story so you don't do this, right? But I thought I had to be strong. And so for so long, I kept it from my friends and my family. I didn't want to be a downer, right? I didn't want to tell them until it just hit a point where I was so scared for my own life that I needed help. I needed somebody to come in and help me, save me. And it felt like I just tried about everything until spoiler alert, there's a happy ending to the story, I promise. One day, I can still remember it as clear as day. I was in bed alone. My poor husband, he didn't know what to do. He was trying so hard to help me, but like nothing seemed to help. And I was in bed, I was crying. And I just had this overwhelming, and I think a lot of people describe it, and maybe for them it is auditory, but it felt like a voice, but it wasn't a voice because it wasn't something I heard. It was just like something I deeply knew, like a deep inner knowing. It wasn't my own conscious thought, but it was just like a download, you could say. I had this download out of nowhere. It felt like a lightning bolt in my brain. And it was this deep inner knowing that I believe is from my angels, my higher guides, my higher self. That was just like, if you get through this, Brittany, I'm going to tear up if I say this. It said, if you get through this, Brittany, life will be better than you could ever imagine. Life will be better than you could ever imagine. And something in me at that time couldn't think a positive thought if I tried, but something in me believed that. It felt so real that something in me was like, okay, I believe you. And it was like the first glimmer of hope I had felt in a very long time. And then directly after that, I had this other kind of like mini download out of nowhere that I should Google hypnosis for depression. Now, this feels very random, right? But I swear this comes from somewhere. I had experienced hypnosis long ago. And hypnosis, the idea of hypnotherapy, hypnosis had really intrigued me because I had experienced it back in high school. I went to this summer camp where I was a double major. I was a theater major and a psychology major. And one of the coolest things we did as a psychology majors is we had a professional hypnotist come in and speak to our class. And I remember it was one of the coolest things I'd ever experienced. Now I know as a practitioner of hypnosis, I know how this works and how group hypnosis works. And obviously, since I was so intrigued, I was very highly susceptible to be hypnotized. But sure enough, the hypnotist picked me to be hypnotized. And he hypnotized me to not be able to move my arms, that my arms would stay firmly glued to my sides. And so it happened, and I didn't think of anything of it. Then he took a dry erase marker and just sort of gently threw it at my lap and said, catch. And I went to go catch this marker, the instinct to catch this marker. And my shoulders lunged forward, but my arms, they stayed glued to my sides. And that marker just sort of fell on my lap. And it was in that moment that I was like, what? Like, what is happening? How does this work? Now, of course, he took another marker and he threw it at me. And that time, oh, you better bet I caught that marker. And why that works is because you cannot be hypnotized against your will. For me, I was like a little freaked out that happened. And so my brain was like, abort mission. And, I came to my senses, right? The hypnosis was done, which makes complete sense. But it was enough for me to recognize, wow, something is going on here. And so in this moment, when I was laying in bed there, Googling hypnosis for depression, I was wondering, could this help me now too? And honestly, I mean, the core thought I was thinking is, what exactly do I have to lose? Because at this point, I was suicidal. I was scared. I was willing to try anything. And to tell you the truth, some people, this is changing, and part of my work is to help this change. But a lot of my clients come and see me as a last case resort. Like, usually people don't see a hypnotherapist, at least this day and age, as the first thing they try, right? I hope to change that. But that was the mindset I was in too. Like, what do I have to lose? Maybe this could help. And so I started doing hypnotherapy focused on happiness and releasing depression. And after a time period of dedicated daily practice, now for me, the amount of time that would take would be different from you, different from one of my other clients. I know this now, right? But for me, after practicing daily, I kid you not, the depression completely lifted. I mean, it gave me the biggest gift of my life. I was back to feeling like myself again. I felt like I was myself again. And I felt more aligned and passionate about my life than ever before. And that felt so good. It just helped release that resistance. Because, even if we logically know so much about manifestation, I'm sure if you're listening to this podcast, you know a lot about manifestation. That doesn't always mean that resistance doesn't take over and we get kind of sucked into the spiral of it sometimes. And that's why I love hypnotherapy, is it can help sort of pull us out of that spiral and release that resistance in a way that our conscious mind can't always do. And so I just was so blown away. I had rediscovered this truly life-changing tool. And of course, I was still a corporate researcher at the time, right? I needed to know how this worked. So shortly after that, I decided to enroll in school and become a certified hypnotherapist. And literally, I just did this for fun. I mean, I was just like, hey, I'm not in bed anymore all day. I'm working and I'm happy. I want a hobby. This thing was pretty cool. It really helped me. It saved my life. Let's go learn how it works. That was kind of my mindset at the time. I wanted to understand the science behind how it worked and its impact on the brain, and like, why did this work when all these other things hadn't? And it wasn't until I started my schooling and I learned how to conduct hypnotherapy sessions for other people that I had realized that this whole thing actually had led me to manifesting my true passion in life, because it felt amazing to be able to help transform other people's lives. Like, the butterfly effect felt so good, and I felt more in alignment when I could help other people. And that was just the coolest feeling in the world. And so that sort of unexpectedly found me in a way that was so miraculous. And so I was doing my certification, finished certification. I will say there was an immediate strong interest and demand in my work. I was in alignment. I will tell you, I was aligned. I was on fire. I was feeling good. I knew this was my purpose. I was helping other people. Like, it was just all the ingredients were there. And therefore it did not surprise me whatsoever that for this job, I struggled in my 8 years worth of other businesses, but this business took off like wildfire. I knew I was on the cusp of something big. I could see my clients literally changing their lives before my eyes. And that was such a cool thing to witness. And so, to pay homage to the fact that hypnotherapy gave me my life back, I decided to take the plunge. I decided not to be scared anymore. And I decided to give it my life too. And I continued to build my business until I could quit my corporate job and become a full-time hypnotherapist, and then eventually a certified life coach as well, so that I can incorporate both conscious mind and subconscious mind into my practice. And let me tell you, that is when I took that bet on myself and I risked it all and said, you know what? I got a second chance at life. I'm not going to screw it up this time. I'm not going to go back to being miserable like I was. I'm going to step into my truth and what is meant for me. That's when my life started to transform in big, joyous, beautiful ways. And I'll tell you, that's when I started applying this practice, not just to get out of the depths of depression, but started applying hypnotherapy to manifest things that I wanted in my life. The biggest one being a dream that I had held since I was 10 years old, to be a house guest on my favorite TV show, Big Brother on CBS. If you're unfamiliar with Big Brother, it's a summertime reality show where 16 house guests live in a summer for 3 months and they battle it out to be the one who lasts the longest all the way to the end. I had been watching it since the year 2000 and it was my dream to be on it. And in fact, I had applied 6 years, 6 times. And only one of those times did I make it to semifinals. I didn't make it to finals. I got cut at finals, but I made it, through a part of the audition process. All other 5 years was just a flat out no. But the year that I decided to start applying hypnosis to manifest being on the show was year 7, the year that I got cast on Big Brother 24. So while I was on the show, I made it all the way to Final 4, which is pretty good out of 16, one day shy of the finals. I won the most competitions of any female house guest all season, which is just still so baffling to me. I was in the majority alliance. I mean, literally, the game was just the best thing that ever happened. But I would say the best part was that all summer long, I was actually able to help support the mental health and well-being of the other house guests, as well as America in some respects, through our weekly group hypnosis sessions. Now, let me be clear. They were hypnosis, but when you're in a high stressed out state, sometimes your mind won't let you go to the depths of the theta brainwave state, which is hypnosis. So I called them meditation sessions because literally I don't think anybody in that house, we were all so stressed. I don't think anybody was able to de-stress enough in that, 30-minute session in order to get into a state of true hypnosis. But some of y'all have told me that you joined on the 24/7 live feeds into some of these sessions. And I was even able to do a session, a one-on-one session with one of the house guests, Alyssa. I healed her back. They include that segment on the show, which was kind of funny. And it really was the biggest blessing because it allowed me to reach a whole new audience and to teach a whole new audience and to help a whole new audience discover the power of their own subconscious mind, because these are things that we aren't typically taught in school. And so once I returned home from the show, I was able to support even more transformations and manifestations than ever before. And so it's just been such a gift, as I kind of look back on this journey of how I got to where I am, how I got to starting this show. It's just so beautiful to be able to take, hypnotherapy and life coaching. We got hypnotherapy that addresses the subconscious mind. We got life coaching and manifestation coaching that addresses our conscious thoughts, and blend them together, intuition and science together. That's what I do day in, day out with my one-on-one programs. I work with people through 1 month, 3 month, 6 month programs to be able to, manifest the life of their dreams. And so this really, when I look at all this, I think about this is total transformation and manifestation at the deepest level. And it's part of the reason why I started this show. And ironically, what's kind of funny is 5 years ago, when I stopped my last podcast, that was because that was year 5 of me applying for Big Brother. And it was the time, I can't disclose very much, but the audition process is very strenuous. It is very time consuming. It's almost kind of like a full-time job when you're in it. And so I got really off track on my podcasting posting schedule when I was going through semifinals for Big Brother. I think it was going to be BB17 would have been the season that I would have been on. And it's very strenuous. And I got off my podcasting schedule. And then when I didn't get it, it really caused me to reevaluate how I was going about my goals, because here I was doing this hustle and grind, trying really hard to achieve these goals, and it wasn't working out for me. I didn't achieve my goal. And so it really made me kind of step back and go back to my initial sort of studying of manifestation and realize like there has to be a better, easier way. And sure enough, that, and so it's ironic. It's kind of coming full circle here, right? The reason why I stopped the podcast was because of Big Brother and was because of goal setting that actually set me on the path to rediscover manifestation, of which eventually got me Big Brother, which eventually got me to which eventually got me to my business, and then Big Brother, and then to here to the show. So don't ever doubt anything that happens, because it all comes full circle in some way if you get back into alignment. And so now that I have BB behind me, I want to get back to my roots. I want to do what lights me up and brings me joy, but most of all, I want to share all those helpful tools and resources with you so that you can achieve your wildest dreams. And I just feel like podcasting is just the best medium for that. Like I could go do a 1-minute little TikTok dance, but that's not going to help you manifest. Like I think podcast really lets us go deep into the nitty gritty of what's required to really shift our thinking and our beliefs towards, the belief in ourselves and what we want to accomplish. So one thing that I'm going to do, like I said, this show, today's episode, I'm introducing you to myself. I'm introducing you to what you can expect. But really, these episodes are all going to be about you. And I'm always going to make sure that you're left with exercises, visualizations, coaching questions, whatever it may be. I want to make sure that there are things that you can sink your teeth into. So I want to give you that for today's episode too. The biggest takeaway I want you to leave with after today's episode is to never give up. No matter how many times you're told no, okay? Otherwise, if you don't give up, you are always still in the game. I mean, you kind of have to be a certain brand of crazy, right? To continue to do things when people have told you no so many times. Like I heard year 1, no, year 2, no, year 3, no, year 4, no, year 5, half yes, then no, year 6, 0%, just a flat out no. And then year 7 was 100% yes. Like, good thing I didn't give up, because if you give up, then you start to embody that into your identity as I'm not a person who can have this thing. And you're wrong, because if you just would have kept doing it, it would happen for you. So don't be the one that says no to you. Don't be that person. Other people can be that person, but you can't be that person for yourself. And another thing I want to leave you with is things are going to get better. I know people always say this, but I hope by sharing my story, which is not an easy story to share, I'll be honest. It's not easy knowing that there are people who know me very closely that probably don't know that story that are going to hear it right now here on this podcast. I share it because I want you to know that things get better. And that's the beauty of when things aren't going your way, they can only get better. And so if you feel you're at the point in your life where you want to make some changes, my biggest suggestion would be to declare today that you have a clean slate right here, right now. Don't wait for tomorrow. Don't wait for the start of next week. It can be now, this very moment. There, I just created a moment now. Like, right? You can start over at any time. This is your new beginning. And this is this podcast and the show's beginning. Why not have it be your new beginning right now? And I can take you by the hand along this journey of your new beginning to destination manifestation. And you can keep coming back to this podcast, because that's literally what I'm going to do. I'm going to help you every step of the way. I got you. Okay. So please, if you haven't already, subscribe to this podcast so you won't miss a single episode. And I'm going to see you for episode 2. Okay. Thank you again for tuning in to our first episode. I'm so excited to be on this journey with you guys. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already so you don't miss our upcoming episodes. Music for this podcast is by A Cubed, and can't wait to see you guys on episode 2. It's going to be great. We're going to get into the nitty gritty. I can't wait to be there with you.
I don't know